the Tesla Model 3. So I've had mine for 18 months now. A lot of the reviews that you see online are usually after a few weeks or whatever. Now there's nothing wrong with reviews that are after a week, because obviously not everyone can own a car for years or for months or whatever. So I'm hoping my long-term 18-month sort of review of the Model 3 is pretty unique compared to the other reviews out there. And hopefully I can share some insight about this car after long-term ownership. Also, make sure to check out my original 6-month review of the Model 3. There's going to be a lot in that video that I won't be covering in this video. Reliability and issues. So I've had no major issues with my Model 3 since I've owned it. Nothing that's come up on the screen, nothing that's made me be like, oh, I can't drive this car. I've only had 2 little niggles, and one of them was a leak in the passenger footwell. Under acceleration, it would just leak a little bit. There was just some water that would come through, nothing major. And also wind noise coming from the passenger side, again, not really a major issue. It's just me being picky. But both of these were fixed by Tesla under warranty, no questions asked. They provided me a courtesy car each time as well at no cost. So all round, pretty good service. Now, not everyone is going to have exactly the same experience that I have had. I've definitely heard some horror stories from Tesla and their poor customer service. I think the biggest issue that I've had with Tesla is that they are just a bit slow on getting things done. That's the issue that I found, but they still get the issues fixed, and I don't really have too much to complain about. The biggest issue though isn't actually to do with reliability or Tesla customer service. It's actually just the battery and the range in the winter. In the winter, driving a Model 3, I mean, it works fine, no problem or anything, but the range is just hit so hard by cold weather. When it's cold and you want to have the heating on, it absolutely crunches through the battery. Also because obviously the batteries need to warm up. That's the biggest issue really when it comes to having a Model 3 in the winter. You know, you've got to sort of take that into account, because I want to have the heating on. I want to have heated seats on. I want to feel comfortable in my car. I don't want to have to sort of turn down the heating down just to get more range. I haven't done any actual scientific testing to see how many exact miles I'm losing in the winter, but I can definitely notice it. I think I'm losing probably around 20 to 40% of range depending on how I drive the car and the weather. But one redeeming factor is that we did have some snow, and with the all-wheel drive and the dual motor, it worked really well in the snow. I mean, I don't have any footage, but it's worked surprisingly well, and I felt quite confident driving it around in the ice and snow. Of course, you need winter tires and whatever else to be actually safe, but when it actually came down to it, it worked completely fine. Costs. So a large factor that I think puts a lot of people off when it comes to buying an electric car is the initial upfront cost that you have to take into account actually buying the car. But the amount of money that you can save over your ownership, I think really makes up for it. To charge the car from dead on my current electricity tariff, it only cost me around £5, which is just amazingly cheap, and I get around 200 to 300 miles out of that. Now, of course, that is also considerably cheaper compared to a petrol or a diesel car. I also have free supercharging miles due to some of you kind folks using my Tesla referral link. And then there's also servicing costs, of which there pretty much are none. In the 18 months that I've had the car, the only money I've spent in terms of servicing is the cabin air filter. It will also be due a brake fluid change at the end of the year, but those two are usually only required every 24 months. It really is just an incredibly cheap car to run compared to other sort of cars it competes against when it comes to price and performance. Full self-driving. So I am super glad I didn't buy full self-driving. I think when I bought the car, the full self-driving option was around £7,000, £6,000 or £7,000, somewhere around there. That's a lot of money to pay for something that isn't really guaranteed, and you don't know the actual release date of full self-driving. And I feel sorry for the people who have bought full self-driving and still haven't actually got it. You know, we've been promised it for years now, for a long time, and it just hasn't been delivered. Which is a shame. It's a big shame, because I obviously want full self-driving to happen. I want it to be a thing, but it just isn't worth the money right now. And I feel like autopilot, the standard autopilot that you get with the car, is just great as it is. Full self-driving also just still seems impossible to me. There's just too many variables when it comes to driving a car, and I just don't know how a computer can learn all of that. Like I said though, it would be amazing if all of that could be figured out, and hopefully full self-driving is figured out in the next few years. But for now, if you're considering a Model 3, I would recommend not going for full self-driving. Autopilot. So this is probably my most favorite feature on the car, and it's definitely the feature that I use the most. When on long journeys and in traffic, autopilot really is amazing. I actually struggle to drive cars without it now because it's just so much more relaxing. I trust it pretty much 99% of the time when I'm driving on the motorway or highway. I feel like I don't have to focus as much on the driving and I can take in sort of more of my surroundings. I don't have to keep making micro adjustments either just to stay in the lane, which can be tiring over time. It's almost like being a passenger in my own car. In traffic as well, not having to worry about starting and stopping is just great. When you're stuck in traffic for more than 30 minutes, I feel like it can become quite tiring in a normal car. You have to keep making adjustments to your speed. You have to constantly pay attention to the cars in front and keep up with the cars in front. But with autopilot, it just handles that no problem. I feel like I can't praise autopilot enough. It really is worth it. It is an amazing feature on Teslas. And like I said, I just can't drive other cars without it. Comfort. So 18 months on, I feel like I can make quite a good judgment on how comfortable this car is. Is it going to be as smooth as a luxury saloon? No, but considering this is the performance version, which has a lower ride height and the bigger rims, I find it incredibly comfortable, and the seats also really help with that. Whenever I have friends get in the car with me, they also agree that the seats are super comfortable. They're just great for long journeys. One pedal driving. So I feel like this is something that many people aren't aware of or don't really understand how it actually works. You can technically drive the Model 3 without ever having to touch the brake pedal. The car will kick into regeneration as soon as you stop accelerating. It doesn't coast like a regular car. The regeneration is also so nicely tuned that I'd argue it brakes smoother than a regular person could, and it even can come to a full stop, again in a very smooth fashion. A side benefit of this is that you don't need to use the brakes often, which means they will last a lot longer than a regular car. Another cost saving to take into consideration. Safety. So I feel like this is another area where the Model 3 definitely excels. There's been once or twice where the car has carried out a full emergency stop, mainly because I just haven't reacted quick enough to traffic coming to a full stop ahead of me. Starts beeping, letting you know that the traffic is coming to a full stop, and then brakes for you, which is just great. You know, knowing that if a car suddenly just stops in front of you, and as long as you have enough distance, the Model 3 will just brake for you and you don't have to do anything. It's just super safe. There was also this one time where I was being an idiot and I reached into the back of my car, and whilst reaching over, whilst stretching, I accidentally hit the gas pedal, and the car didn't move. Even though it could see that there was a car in front of it, because I was actually in traffic, there was a car in front, it just came up on the screen that there's an obstruction and it's not going to accelerate. I was just like, wow, like I could have easily rear-ended someone and it would have been completely my fault, but the car could see that there was another car in front and it just stopped me from doing that. The wrap. So as you may have noticed, my Tesla Model 3 isn't a standard colour. I have wrapped the car in Satin Dark Grey. Thanks to Rock Studio and Dub Customs for wrapping my car. They did a really good job with it. I usually have my car parked outside, so it's not safe from the elements. It does experience all types of weather, and I've had no issues with the wrap at all. It still looks as good as a day that I had it done, and people love to comment on it. People always bring up that they love the colour, which is great. It's always nice to get compliments about your car. I also just love how understated it looks. You know, you can get some wraps that are quite leery and quite loud and very bright, but I wanted something that was a bit more understated, a bit more sleek, a bit smarter. It's why I went for the Satin Dark Grey. I've also blacked out the badges and stuff, blacked out the door trim, the window trim, and the door handles and stuff. I just feel like it looks great without the chrome. I think it was well worth the money getting it wrapped, especially considering how many horror stories I've heard about the paint quality on Teslas. The looks. So in my original video, I did say that the Model 3 was pretty average looking, but since then, I feel as though the competition has gotten much better. When you see cars like the Porsche Taycan, the Audi e-tron GT, or the Polestar, I feel like they almost make the Model 3 look ugly. I'm not too bothered though, because as I've said previously, I actually like the sort of average, boring look of the Model 3. I feel like it doesn't really get a lot of attention like, say, a Porsche Taycan would. Interior. So the most common questions I get are to do with the white interior. How do you keep it clean? Aren't you scared of any sort of stains, or doesn't it get dirty easily? In the 18 months that I've had it, I think I've only cleaned the interior like 4 or 5 times. And even then, when it comes to cleaning it, all I usually use is a damp microfiber cloth and maybe some sort of standard leather cleaner to clean the interior. It is just super easy to clean. At the same time though, I don't have any children, so I'm sure it's going to be different with children. You're going to have to clean it a lot more regularly. But I do have friends get in the car regularly with me. And again, I don't really tell them to wear anything specific. I never tell them, oh, you can't wear blue jeans. You know, I really don't care about that sort of thing. It really doesn't cause any issues. I personally though don't wear blue jeans. I usually wear grey or black jeans, and over time the grey and black jeans obviously do leave a fade on the seats themselves, but again, like I said, they just wipe off super easy as long as you have a microfiber cloth, maybe a damp microfiber cloth, and you use some standard leather cleaner. I have some standard leather cleaner that you can just pick up from Amazon. Just spray it on the seats, wipe it off, and it just comes off super easy. The interior itself still looks as good as the day that I got it. I would definitely choose it again. I just feel like it makes the interior feel very open and airy. I love the look of it. Acceleration. 18 months later, I'm still not bored of the sheer speed that this car can build in an instant. It just blows me away every time. Whether it be from a standstill at traffic lights or when going for an overtake, the speed of this car is just incredible. If anything, I found it safer, especially when pulling out of a junction or joining a roundabout. It still surprises any friends that get in my car as well. It's just as much fun as it was the day that I got the car. I have naturally found myself doing 0 to 60 launches much less as the novelty does wear off, but knowing that the power is there is a fantastic feeling. One of the best features of having an electric car with such acceleration is that you can do launches without attracting any attention due to a loud exhaust or an engine. Some people may not like that, but I love it. It's almost like driving a car that's partly a ninja. It's great. So what's next? I anticipate keeping my Model 3 for another 12 to 18 months. If I had to replace my car right now, no joke, I would actually just buy another Model 3. I was hoping that Audi, BMW or Mercedes would have caught up by now. I was hoping that they would have released sort of competing cars in the same sort of price range with the same performance, same range, all those different things. But they're not even really that close, you know. There's nothing really that can compete with the Model 3 right now. I know BMW, Audi, Mercedes, they're all playing with electric cars, but when it comes to pricing, performance and those sorts of things, they're just not close right now. The Model 3 really is that good of a car right now that I would just buy another one. As an all-round package, when you take into consideration the price, the comfort, the power and the supercharger network, you can't forget the supercharger network. It really is just a great sort of, I guess, side benefit or feature that you get with Teslas. It makes a lot of sense right now. So I hope you guys enjoyed this long-term review of my Tesla Model 3. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter and subscribe for more.